Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us. Before we begin, I'd like to remind media on the phone that you may press star 1 at any time in order to ask a question. That's star 1 at any time to enter the queue. I will now invite Minister Katrina Conroy to speak. Please go ahead.
I'm sorry, Minister, you're on mute.
Sorry, Minister, you're just on mute.
Minister Conroy, I believe you're muted.
Muting me. Okay, well, we'll start again. Thank you. Good afternoon. So I want to recognize the First Nations on whose traditional territory we're gathered today, and I'm joining you from the territory of the Secwépemc, the Okanagan-Syilx, the Sinixt, and the Ktunaxa Nations. And before I start with the announcement today, seeing as this is the first time I've had this opportunity since December, I want to take a moment to thank everyone for their support and well wishes. And I'm very, very grateful to everyone for who helped me out to recover after and over the holidays, including the Victoria Police Department, the staff at the legislature, and friends and families. I've never experienced anything like this quite before, so I am recovering from a concussion, a broken nose, and other issues, but I'm well on my way to a full recovery and very happy to be back at work, and especially to be able to be part of today's announcement. And with that, I'd like to introduce to you the two people who are joining us virtually to share the details of a really exciting agreement and path forward in forest and old growth management. Dallas Smith is president of the Nanawakolis Council, and I want to recognize the groundbreaking work Dallas has done building partnerships like the Council, as well as an architect of the Great Bear Rainforest Agreement. Also with us is Shannon Jansen. She's Western's current vice president of partnerships and sustainability, as well as its chief forester. And she is well known for her commitment to sustainable forest management, forging partnerships with First Nations that advance reconciliation, and is doing some really incredible work. So I want to thank both of you for being here. Our forests are renewable, but some forests are special and need to be preserved for future generations. That's why BC has committed to implementing all 14 recommendations of the Old Growth Strategic Review. This is part of our government's new vision for forestry, where we take better care of our oldest and most ancient forests, where Indigenous peoples are full partners in sustainable forest management, and workers and communities benefit from secure, innovative forestry jobs for years to come. Old growth deferrals like the one we are announcing today are just one part of our overall approach, but they are an important temporary measure. They create the time and space for BC, First Nations, industry, and others to work to develop and implement new long-term strategies to sustainably manage our old growth forests. Nanawakolis and Western are building on a strong existing relationship and agreeing to temporarily defer harvesting of 2,800 hectares of old growth. And I'm looking forward to hearing from Dallas and Shannon about this agreement, because it isn't just about a temporary deferral. It's a step in a long-term partnership and vision for forest management that will benefit local communities and ecosystem health. It's a step forward in joint planning and reconciliation that will increase certainty for industry, stability for workers, and respect for cultural values and forest health. And I want to recognize Nanawakolis and Western for their leadership. Indigenous and industry partnerships like this are key to advancing both sustainable forestry management and reconciliation with rights and title holders. They can limit the impact on workers and communities of short-term deferrals and shifts in forest management practices. Government is also putting in place comprehensive and coordinated resources to support workers, contractors, industry, and communities who may be impacted by old growth deferrals. And we have ensured local supports are available immediately to island communities. Last month, the province announced $19 million to provide enhanced supports for eligible workers, contractors, and communities for the rest of this fiscal year. We're also developing new programs that will support forestry workers, industry, and communities over the next 3 years, and we'll be announcing those soon. BC is building on our progress to take better care of our most at-risk old growth forests, listening to science, and treating forests as complete ecosystems. And we're also working to respect Indigenous rights on the stewardship of their lands and create new opportunities for First Nations in the forestry sector. and making choices that better share the economic benefits of the forest more fairly with workers and communities. That's why I'm really excited to hear from our speakers today about a perfect example of a partnership that achieves this delicate but so important balance. So I'd like to turn us over now to Dallas Smith. Thank you. Dallas?
Thank you so much, Minister. We're so happy to see you back into things, and we wish you the best of luck as you continue to recover. And we really appreciate you making time to share this wonderful news of the work we've done with Western Forest Products. My name's Dallas Smith. I'm the president of Namaqualis Council. I have the pleasure of coming to you today from Snuneymuxw territory because of Helijet Fogin. But we do what we need to do on the coast to make things work, and this is part of the process we're engaged in. I'm very honored to stand up today and say the Klawitsis, Comox, Wewakam, and Wewakai First Nations are continuing to strengthen relationships with Western through joint planning and reconciliation agreement that, along with our large cultural cedar protocol, will prioritize some of the rarest and oldest forests in this deferral. We've done a lot of work to put us in a position to be here today to make these announcements. Our experience over 20 years in the Great Bear Rainforest going through these similar types of issues has taught us as First Nations we need to be clear with what our objectives are and what we're trying to achieve. A lot of people talk about finding that healthy balance, but you can only do that through engagement. And so we're really happy to stand up today and have the British Columbia government be part of the partnership we've been working on with Western Forest Products over the last couple of years to do some very important planning work, some SRMP planning work over the next 18 months while we get beyond the actual deferrals discussion. We get into the implementation of the 14 strategies in the old growth discussion and the other things that need to go along with it. Again, I go back to the experience that our nations had through the Great Bear Rainforest, where we watched Angos and industry kind of fight over our backyards while we were on the sidelines and not really participants in that discussion. And I'm proud to say that over the years through that discussion, we've grown the capacity to understand what we need, what our communities need. We do have values that need to be protected, that we've worked with Western through our large cultural cedar protocol that have put us in a position to take the next step where we can add ancient and remnant old growth forests into this discussion. And at the same time, we're taking a pace that's going to guarantee that we can minimize the economic impacts that come to not only our communities, but the surrounding communities and our neighbors in Campbell River, Port McNeill, et cetera. So this is a really carefully thought out approach that is Indigenous driven. This isn't simply a result of responding to existing discussions or pressures that are going on around old growth. This is a discussion that we've been engaged in for a number of years now that have got us to this point where we can start to see what that certainty and what that balanced equation looks like. So I'm really proud to be here today and really want to thank both the province of British Columbia, yourself, Minister, and Shannon, for the leap of faith in letting us not necessarily drive the car yet. We'll figure out those UNDRIP things through this process, but we got a hand on the steering wheel now, and we're really honored that you guys are coming on this journey with us. So with that, I'd just like to thank everybody, and we look forward to really going through this planning process and ending at that balanced position that all British Columbia really needs us to find. Gaelic Asla. Shannon?
Great. Thanks so much, Dallas. As Dallas mentioned, Minister mentioned, I'm the Vice President Partnership, Sustainability, and Chief Forester with Western Forest Products. I'm incredibly happy to be joining today from my home on Vancouver Island in the traditional territories of the Shizimik and Snuneymuxw First Nations. Dallas mentioned the word certainty. We talk a lot about certainty in British Columbia, and for good reason. Certainty really is a cornerstone of business investment. Certainty is critical to realize a vision for the sector, to allow us to move up the value chain to higher value wood products, support high value paying jobs, help sustain both rural communities and urban communities, and to benefit our planet through the sustainable production of renewable carbon-friendly wood products. But for BC, the path to certainty isn't yet clear. In fact, from where I sit, there are only a few words that can accurately define what that path looks like: trust, respect, and relationship. And last October, Nawaklis and Western announced their commitment to negotiate a joint planning and reconciliation agreement. This announcement was made possible through respect for the decision-making authority of the Nawaklis member nations who are rights and title holders, and a really long history of mutual respect for each other's interests, in addition to a series of trust-building exercises of what Dallas just entitled Leap of Faith on behalf of both parties. And our agreement signifies a willingness to do all the hard work, to find solutions to complex problems that are built from the ground up. And we are collectively committed to doing this in a way that works for us, but also for all of British Columbians, knowing at its core, we are stronger together. So amongst other milestones, we have agreed to develop an integrated resource management plan, which is also known as the IRMP, that incorporates the values of the Nawaklis members into forest planning, leverages a broad base of professional expertise, traditional knowledge, and integrates the assessment of socioeconomic impacts and benefits, while transparently demonstrating our credentials as forest managers, all accomplished through 250-year projections of growth and recovery of BC's renewable forests. While IRMPs are being completed, our agreement includes Western support for Nawaklis' decision to prioritize over 2,500 hectares of old forests for deferral in TFL 39 Block 2. These areas were selected based on Nawaklis priorities and supported through pre-existing voluntary standards and agreements, including Western's work with external ecologists on rare ecosystems, and as Dallas mentioned, work between Western and Nawaklis to implement a large cultural cedar protocol. And our agreement doesn't stop with a comprehensive shared commitment to the health and well-being of forests. It also includes a vision for economic reconciliation and includes a commitment to bring joint solutions forward to the province and to align our interests in preparing to walk a new path together. It is Nawaklis and Western's goal to create more shining light examples that build upon the successes seen elsewhere on the coast and to avoid the pitfalls that can so easily distract us from that vision. So forestry and sustainable forest management is an important part of our heritage, and it is an absolutely essential part of our future. Together, we have a tremendous opportunity to fill a global leadership void and to demonstrate how we can produce wood products here in BC that through sustainable forest management help mitigate climate change and provide science and cultural-based solutions led through collaborative partnerships. There is a path to certainty in British Columbia, and that comes through hard work that is built on a foundation of respect, trust, and relationship. So thanks very much to the province for this opportunity to speak here today and to highlight this exciting agreement between Nawaklis and Western. And thanks so much to Nawaklis Council and to Dallas for your leadership, and to the 4 member nations for taking another leap of faith with Western Forest Products. Thank you so much.
And I just again want to thank both Shannon and Dallas for being part of this today and for the work that you've done. And as you can hear, there's a lot of work that's already been done and a lot more work to do, but it's heading in the right direction. And I really want to thank you for that. So thanks so much. And I believe Marlena wants us to take a group photo.
Yes, that's right. If I could get everyone to just briefly pause for a photo. Thank you to all our speakers. As a reminder to reporters on the phone, please press *1 to enter a queue. That's *1 to ask a question. Our first question today is from Fran Yanor, Northern Beat. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Minister. My question relates to your technical advisory panel on old growth. I'm not sure if you're aware, but Kofi and other sources, including some in the media and some MLAs, have stated incorrectly that 4 of the 5 members of the panel have ties to the Sierra Club and environmental groups, implying that their data is biased and therefore untrue. I'm just wondering, are you aware of these depictions, and do you stand by the integrity of the panel and the accuracy of the data?
Yes, we do. Sorry, yes, we do. The technical advisory panel members were chosen for their areas of expertise. They were, many of them have done considerable work for government as well as for Indigenous nations across the province. A number of them have been involved in working with industry as well. So they come because of their expertise that they brought to the table.
Fran, did you have a follow-up?
Yes, please, thanks. Minister, this sort of to continue the driving metaphor, but to go back to it, you mentioned it last fall when you were talking about upcoming legislation. You said the legislation was going to put the government in the driver's seat. And I wonder if this, because it does appear to be a bit of a campaign of sorts to discredit the data by attacking the integrity of the independent scientists and experts. I wonder if that is industry perhaps wrestling for the wheel, and what does government intend to do? Or are you just, that's something you're just going to let happen and continue on?
Well, we're looking forward to working with everybody on this initiative. I mean, this is, we want to see a new vision for how we take care of forests in our province. We're looking forward to working with First Nations rights and title holders across the province. We're looking forward to working with industry, and we're looking forward to working with communities, workers, stakeholders across the province, and everybody has to be part of this. This isn't something that government's going to sit in Victoria and do by ourselves. This is something that's going to be done by Indigenous nations, rights and title holders, by industry, by workers right across the province and communities. So it's definitely not going to be done by people just sitting by themselves doing it. We're doing it as a team, and that's how we're going to get this accomplished.
Our next question is from Rob Shaw, Czech News. Please go ahead.
Well, hi, I guess this is for Dallas or the minister. I'm trying to put the 2,500 or 2,800 hectares in perspective. The Old Growth Advisory Panel recommended some number of hectares of deferral in this area. Do we know how much it recommended and how much this 2,500 hectares represents? And are there other deferral areas recommended that the local nations reject and tend to harvest?
I can start with the numbers, and Dallas, you can fill in if I missed anything. But in fact, we know that the deferral is for, like, with one company, one tree farm license in the territory of the 4 First Nations. And in fact, it covers 100% of the ancient and remnant old growth that was identified by the Old Growth Technical Advisory Panel within this area. And so it covers approximately 90% of at-risk old growth trees identified by the TAP for this area. Did I miss anything, Dallas? Or?
Yeah, thank you, Minister. That's correct. I mean, from the Numbecoil's point of view, we haven't really focused too much on the TAP work, to be honest. Just from curiosity, we've compared where we're at, so we know when the hailstorm of social media comes in where we stand on that. But this is a community-driven process where we've reached this 2,500 hectares, and also the addition of our large cultural cedar program, where it's almost on a identified tree by tree basis, and some of the surrounding area around it also is being included into the planning discussions going forward on this. So again, as the minister said, this is one TFL of the many license holders that operate within our collective territories. And we look forward to working out similar arrangements with each of the companies as we go forward.
Rob, did you have a follow-up?
Sure, thanks. Minister, could you give us an update on where we're at on the 2.6 million hectares earmarked for deferral from a few months ago? How many nations have responded and indicated they agree or disagree with that number? Or what sort of agreement number of hectares are there from your understanding of where things stand right now?
What I can tell you, Rob, is that we have had feedback from 161 First Nations on the next steps they want to take in this process. Some of them, I said, they are very interested in looking at pursuing more deferrals, while others have requested more time. And we are working with them on coming to decisions on that. As you can see, I mean, deferrals take some time. We've been really clear about that this isn't something that's going to happen overnight. It's not easy. It's going to take a bit of time to do. It has to be done right. And we need to ensure that everybody that is involved in those specific areas is at the table. So for now, we've definitely heard from 161 First Nations, which we think is a very good start, and we are working with them.
Our next question is from Justine Hunter, Globe and Mail. Please go ahead. Justine, are you there? We can't hear you. Okay, we will move on to Catherine Marlowe, CBC. Please go ahead.
Yeah, first question is, why are these only temporary deferrals?
That was the agreement with, or the recommendation from the Old Growth Strategic Review, that we have 2-year referrals so that we have time to do all the work that needs to be done to determine, as both Shannon and Dallas talked about, the integrated management planning of the forests and the work that needs to be done with the community. So that gives time to get that done. I don't know, Dallas or Shannon, did you want to add to that?
Yeah, thank you, Minister. You know, the 2-year deferrals is just sort of a holding pattern process. We think if we roll up our sleeves with the amount of work that we've done through our own individual land use planning processes, it might be a bit of a quicker time frame where we identify what needs to be part of a long-term protection regime, and more importantly, what vehicle we'd use to do that. Again, I go back to my experience in the Great Bear Rainforest, where the Park Act doesn't necessarily fit all of our objectives as First Nations people when it comes to our rights and title and other opportunities that come out of protected areas. So we look forward to working with our partners and looking at the different vehicles that we can use to meet our long-term protection needs as identified by our communities.
And Catherine, did you have a follow-up?
Yeah, this question is for Shannon. You mentioned the possibility of economic reconciliation. Can you give some examples of what that might look like?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we're working to build a path forward together. And that's what I mentioned earlier. And I think that's the really exciting part of this agreement. It builds upon our strong history of sustainable forest management and seeking to create partnership agreements. We have a number of examples on the coast. One of the most recent is actually agreement between Western Forest Products and the Huu-ay-aht First Nation in TFL 44. That is an excellent demonstration of the ability for us to be able to partner on not only sustainable forest management, but also move forward together from a business perspective as well. So those are the types of agreements that we are looking to explore, opportunities to sort of present options to the province and work together on that path forward. And I'll just underscore that the deferrals that we're speaking about today is really just one component of a much larger agreement in the planning in relation to the integrated resource management plan. So the two categories that we've committed to implement, as Minister Conroy noted, were the remnant and the ancient forest component. But we've also gone outside of that and actually looked at the rare ecosystems based on the ecosystem mapping for the TFL as well. And as Dallas noted, included the large cultural cedar as part of our deferrals, which is a really key priority for the nations that we're working together to, and through all the challenges that it is to be able to support those deferrals here going forward.
Our next question is from Susanna Da Silva, CBC. Please go ahead.
I just wanted to confirm that, so of the 2.6 million announced for proposed deferrals, these 25 hectares are the first of those. And do you have any sense of, in the meantime, as logging has continued on the proposed deferrals, how much of that has now been logged?
This is the first announcement. We've been working on more. There's a number of areas that have with our announcement, which we originally did, we deferred all of the BC timber sales announcements for the across the province. So that has been deferred. Of that covers almost 600,000 hectares that hasn't been. So that I can give you that answer.
Susanna, did you have a follow-up?
Yeah, just overall, you mentioned the 161 nations and you're still waiting to hear from others. Do you have a sense of a timeline of what we might be looking at of getting to other agreements like this? Are all of the discussions completed?
No, we don't have a timeline, but we do know that this will take time, and some nations are ready to come sooner. And as soon as those announcements are ready, we'll be coming out with them. We are working on some imminent announcements as we speak. Some nations will take longer. Some nations, are looking at continued harvesting activities and want to ensure that they're doing that land management planning as part of the process. So we're working with them to ensure that that is happening as well.
And that's all the questions we have for today. This concludes today's event. Thank you to everyone for joining.